so we've got everything we need. It's time to get started. We just grab our sides, our front and our back, and this is where we're going to start. So the first thing that we need to do is get out a pencil and a square and start marking out. Now, I've got a template here that I use, but it's just got the same sizes on it that you would have. So 220, 220, and then 100, 100. That's the 4 pieces that you need. 2 sides, front and a back. So what I'm going to do is get my tape measure out. Actually, maybe I'll use a ruler. Now on my template, I don't know if you can see, but I'm actually just doing the red lines here. Alright? This little bit here is just a bit of scrap. And the reason why it's in the middle and not at the end is because I've already cut these perfectly, so I may as well use the 2 ends that they've got perfect cuts on them rather than just one. So 220, just stick our ruler on 220, do it all at once. 220 and 220 is 440. And the other way is 100 and 100. Grab a square. When you're doing it, I'll do it this way, but you're better off doing it on the bench. Just make sure that it's hard up against. Square a line off. And again. And again. And again. Beautiful. Alright. It does help if you're not used to using the saw to square the ends off too. Because that way when you're cutting, you can see if you're going in the right direction or not. So you might be wandering off with the saw, and if you've got a line there, you can tell and you can fix it. Whereas if you don't have a line, you have to fix it right at the end, which means everything gets smaller and eventually you may not get your pencils in. 220 is a good size. Even if you do make a mistake, you've got a little bit of extra there. I don't know if you can see that, but you've got a little bit of extra there that you can see. Because remember, well, this is going to be rebated, so I'll do it on here. You can see you've got a little bit extra on each side. Now I'm going to grab my bench hook, stick it in the glass, and start cutting. So when I cut, I'm right-handed. I find that when you're cutting, I like to run my finger down, but if you have smaller hands, just to have it in here is fine. You've got to make sure that your elbow's free so you can go back forward, and I like to stand like I'm about to run a running race. And when I start, I use the edge of the bench hook as like a bit of a fence as a guide, and I just pull straight back a couple of times. And after I've done it a couple of times, you'll notice that there's a bit of a groove there where I can put my saw in. And once I'm ready to go, I just go back and forward. If you can't see the line, just use your breath and blow the dust off. Make sure you can see that line, and eventually you want to bring your saw down so that you get a straight line, as opposed to cutting like this all the time. You want to bring it straight and cut straight down. Keep an eye on the lines at the front and back. Don't rip it off at the end, because it'll tear out and it won't look so good on the other side. Make sure you cut all the way through. And bingo. So there's one piece. let's do the next one. And the last one. If you find it gripping too much, like you're trying to press forward and it doesn't go, just bring your saw back a couple of times, kind of like you're starting a lawnmower, and then forward. Just let the saw do the cutting. There's no need to like push extra hard because you just get a sore wrist and elbow and shoulder. So just let the saw do the cutting. It might take you a little bit longer than it takes me, but I've had a bit of experience, so it's no knock. Now, how do you tell if you've got it right? Stand them up next to each other, and you should be pretty close. So have it on something flat, stand it up, and just feel it. If you want to get it, if you're not happy with it, mine's not too far off, just get a bit of sandpaper and sand it a little bit. Otherwise, you can use something like a sanding machine, like a disc sander, like a static belt sander to get it right. So do that on both, just make sure they're both pretty close. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be good and pretty good, because if not, it's not square, so the angles are 90 degrees, and then when you go to run your sliding lid in, it's a bit of an issue, or it can be a bit of a pain. So I'm just going to clean the ends up a bit. And that's the first step. So the next step, we're going to work on doing the rebates. So that's these green parts. I don't know if you can see, but we're only going halfway in. So we're going to cut and then chisel. And that's the next one.